put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, and welcome to the morning show here on Tobago Updates Television. It is Monday, the 24th day of March 2025, and we're coming to you live from the Port Mall here in Scarborough, Tobago. I am Adana Kumbi, and this is the day that the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it.
And I am Akinlabi Holder. Good morning, and we're starting a new work week. The weekend was very exciting. We saw a lot of announcements in the political space. The TPP had their convention yesterday and finally revealed their Tobago West candidate, Adana.
Well, Akinlabi is the way you just jump into the whole thing. I was about to start off by saying this is the last working week of the month. We're winding down the month. You know, I was going to ease myself into it, but here you are jumping straight into it, of course. An exciting weekend taking place there yesterday, especially yesterday evening with the announcement of the TP. Finally. We've been waiting for about 4 weeks, about 4 or 5 weeks thereabouts, and finally the announcement came when we saw the candidate for Tobago West being announced, you know, with great jubilation, I would say, from the party. You know, people are very, very happy with the selected candidate, and so we will see where that goes. I will talk much more about that later on in the show. Of course, we have to dig deep into what is happening. Of course, we have to do our assessments. We have to listen to what is happening. And of course, we have to see what the other parties are doing, who they are bringing. And, you know, as we get into the election mode, we're going to be hearing more announcements. I know that more announcements are coming today. And later on in the week, we'll be hearing more from other parties as well, as it relates to their candidates for the general elections, which is taking place on April 28th.
Exciting times.
Of course, exciting times are ahead, and more so for all media houses in Trinidad and Tobago, people. I mean, we always get so excited with national events, and with an event like this, we get really excited for general elections and THA elections. The media houses are just busy, wanting to know, wanting to get the information, wanting to have the conversations so that we could bring them to you, our viewers. So we do hope that you could stay with us as we bring this information to you. We do hope that you can be a part of the conversation as well. Whether you are on our Facebook live stream or on our YouTube channel. You know, of course, you can leave your comments so we can see where you are, what you think, how you feel, ask the questions you want to ask, and we could continue having the conversations right here on set on Tobago Updates Television. You know, of course, your #1 station for bringing you coverage where it relates to the general elections right here in Trinidad and Tobago. But before we get into all of those conversations this morning, we have to head on over to the news in 90 seconds.
Thank you, Adana. Here is your news in 90 seconds from Monday, March 24th, 2025. The Tobago People's Party has officially announced its candidates for the 2025 general election. During the TPP special convention last evening at Rovana's Resort, THA Secretary of Community Development, Youth Development and Sport, Assemblyman Joel Sampson, was named the candidate for Tobago West. His selection comes weeks after the TPP executive body instructed the screening committee to consider additional prospects for Tobago West. Meanwhile, David Thomas is the TPP candidate for Tobago East. The political leader of the Tobago People's Party, Fali Augustine, declared at the party's special convention that the time for political action has come. He emphasized the importance of listening to the people and outlined the TPP's commitment to Tobago's self-determination, improved public services, and better resources. Augustine criticized the central government for neglecting the island's needs, particularly in security and the air bridge, economic development, and other pressing issues. He stressed that the party aims to secure Tobago's right. The TPP called for unity and active participation in the upcoming general election. And finally, Tobago's business community is hopeful that crime will remain under control once the state of emergency ends. Chairman of the Tobago Division of the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce, Curtis Williams, expressed concerns that progress in security may not last, but is optimistic about the strong coordination among the police, army, and other security forces. Crime rates have dropped significantly significantly, with murders down by 66.67%. Williams praised law enforcement for their teamwork and urged continued collaboration between the Tobago House of Assembly and the central government for progress. And that was your news in 90 seconds.
Thank you, Bianna, for our news there in 90 seconds. And of course, staying with politics. Just before we went to news, Akinlabi and I were talking about the announcements coming from the TPP yesterday at their convention.
Yes.
You know, and of course, there's a lot to talk about where that is concerned.
Yes, yes.
I mean, I know about 5 weeks ago, we saw where there were two nominees actually, for the Tobago West seat.
Yes.
And we were waiting, and then we heard we had to go back for screening, and now we're coming up with a fresh new name.
Yes, yes.
And I'm wondering, you know, I would love to know what happened in between those couple of weeks leading up to the decision that was revealed yesterday evening. What was the process? What was the assessment like? And what were the things that, should I say the word disqualify the first two nominees who presented themselves for candidacy? I'd really like to know what the conversation was like. What were the points that they had to go on in terms of determining who is the best bet for the West, for Tobago? I don't know what your views are, if you have any insider information or anything that would, you know, kind of bring some type of, you know, discourse to this conversation.
I'm not sure exactly what took place, but I know they had to go back to the executive body instructed the screening committee to you know, look at other prospects. So I'm not sure exactly what were the criteria used in order to come up with the final candidate.
Akinlabi, what are your thoughts?
For me, I think that you know, they would have done the assessments, and obviously the two candidates would have been found wanting, or they may have been found short of the sort of competitive edge that the TPP may have wanted to go into the general elections with. So what we can do, we could bring them on. I think we could bring them on to really have that discussion.
But
with
of
them
course,
and
we
to get
certainly
it in,
have to have conversations.
Because I know and the people want to know. We know that Mr. Nelson and Mr. James would have gone up, would have offered themselves, and you know, some persons in the space may have thought that they were pretty strong candidates, but it seems as if the executive of the TPP had different views, and we'd like to know what led them to those conclusions.
But you see, the thing about it is politics is, while I am not a political analyst or political scientist or anything like that, politics is a science, you know, and it's all about strategy. It's all about coming up with ways to make that the kind of inroads you're looking for, especially the type of election that we're going into now.
Yes.
When you look at the space, the political space, you're looking at a strong party, and you're looking at parties coming up, and you're looking at issues as well. You're looking at some of the issues that people feel as if have not been addressed.
Yes.
And so they're coming forward with aggression.
Yes.
They're coming forward, you know,
Giving it their all.
And trying to see how can we make an indent, how can we get in there and have our voices heard. So you're really seeing people fighting to get in the space to ensure that, you know, the views that they think are important are represented in one way or the other. I would say we know the man as Nutsy, and you know, he's very, very popular guy, very, very, from what we know, very down to earth, as we are aware, you know, very, very loved, especially by his community, in his community, Milford Court. I am certain nobody slept in Milford Court last night. They were having a party down there, I'm sure. You know, so, you know, as I said, it's strategy. So let's see how it goes. Let's see how it turns out. But one thing you do know for certain is that elections are won on election day.
True.
And of course, we can't
was very unpredictable with that.
That's right. And we can't leave out our boy, Mr. Tomo. You know, he had David Thomas, he had his say as well last night, and he was talking about his experiences.
Yes.
And sometimes you look at people and they take up positions, and you don't know their story, you don't know the reason they make some of the decisions in terms of putting yourself forward for candidacy. You know, could be because of things you might have gone through, things you've seen, things you think that you can bring and assist, and, you know, to bring change and stuff like that. So, you know, we look forward to see what is happening. And of course, we're going to keep our eyes on all the other political parties as well during this general election.
Yes.
So we'll see how it goes.
Today we have the candidate for Tobago West from PDP. They will be releasing that name today as well.
That's right. So we look
and
forward
tomorrow is the IDA
Yes, so we look forward to those as well. You know, the things start. So I hope you guys are taking your vitamins. Of course, our reporters will be on the ground and they will be getting the information. And please remember that Tobago Updates Television is your #1 choice for coverage for this year's general election. It's a very, very interesting election, and we are looking forward to things happening, and you want to know what's happening, so you have to stay with us. Bianna, thank you so much for joining us on set this morning. But before you go, I must remember, I know we've been using the word consistency for the past couple of months, and we added last week or the week before, I think we added the word respect. So let us continue to be respectful, especially in this time where we know it as silly season, but we're going to call it respectful season, and we're going to move forward where that is concerned.
Yes.
So do have a wonderful, wonderful day.
You too.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time of the morning where we celebrate with those who are celebrating. It's time for our birthday shout-outs. And this morning we start off the celebrations by saying happy birthday to Auntie Kathleen. Auntie Kathleen had a birthday over the weekend, and we say happy birthday to you, Kathleen Kwashi. We do hope that you've had a wonderful birthday. And as you head into this new chapter of your life, that God's grace continues to carry you and that you achieve your purpose there in life. So happy belated birthday to you, and happy birthday.
Happy birthday, to former Assemblyman Claudia Groom Duke. Happy birthday to you, former Assemblyman Claudia Groom Duke, for that seat. Was it Wim Spring Garden? She was a very strong person in that seat. They couldn't remove her at all.
And when you're talking about Claudia Groom Duke, you're talking about somebody who is like a nurturer. I guess it's because of her social services background.
Yes.
She's somebody who likes to give people a chance. I know back in the day they used to say that she will take up anybody from anywhere and put them somewhere. She is that type of person who gives people an opportunity, gives them a chance, and you know, the kind of nurturing part of her. So happy birthday to you, Mrs. Groom Duke, from all of us here at Tobago Updates Television. Next, we have Miss Annetta Williams. Annetta Williams is also celebrating a birthday today. And Annetta, we say happy birthday to you. We pray God's blessings upon your life. We hope you can keep that smile for the entire year as you celebrate your birthday year this year, a new chapter, and we're hoping for new and beautiful experiences for you.
Happy birthday, and God's richest blessings go out to Miss Donna Stewart. Happy birthday to you, Miss Donna Stewart. Looking very colorful there in your dress. We wish God's richest blessings to you, family, friends. We wish God blesses you with many gifts, spiritual gifts as well as physical gifts. Maybe a nice ring, a nice necklace, something very fancy for you today. And we wish God's richest blessings for the coming year.
That's right. And our next celebrant, you might know the voice, and this is the face to go with the voice, Miss Lala Lamar. Chantal Ford is the correct name, and she's celebrating a birthday today, and we say happy birthday to you. We pray God's blessings upon your life, and we do hope that you have an amazing birthday. In fact, we want to hear how this birthday went down, and we do hope that it, of course, is beautiful, just as you are. And Lala is such a humble person, such a beautiful person, very approachable, and having a conversation with her is so much fun, So, of course, I do wish you a wonderful birthday today, and we do pray God's blessings upon your life. So, happy birthday to you, Miss Ford. And of course, if you are celebrating a birthday, even if we don't have your photographs, whatever you are celebrating, we here at Tobago Updates Television, we join in the celebration with you. And we remind you to put God first, because He is the sole reason why there's even anything for you to celebrate. And of course, Akilabi, it's Monday morning, and our viewers might be wondering, what's in my cup? What's in my cup is sponsored by LCJ Delights. And this morning I am drinking lemongrass and ginger tea. That's the correct one. Lemongrass and ginger tea, sponsored by LCJ Delights. LCJ Delights is located at the Signal Hill Micro Enterprise compound there in Signal Hill. So you can contact them for your teas, your porridges, your flour to make your pancakes or your waffles or whatever breakfast you are looking for. So thank you, LCJ Delights, for my tea this morning. Akinlabi, who are we having conversations with in studio this morning?
Well, this morning we're having conversations with Inspector Marvin Campbell of the TTPS. And he's coming to give us the TTPS updates and also give us some crime prevention tips. Afterwards, we're going to have the technical advisor and economist to the THA, Mr. Anselm Richards. He's going to come in and have a conversation with us. And finally, we're going to have Ricardo Alfred, the chairman of TADCO, and he'll be coming in to talk about mastering butchery.
Right, and of course you want to be a part of the conversations this morning. So of course we want to ensure that you are locked in, locked on, whether you are viewing right here in Tobago, whether you are in Trinidad, the Caribbean region, the United States of America, wherever you are on the globe. This morning we say thank you, thank you, thank you. It is because of you why we are number one, and we are here to bring you all the information. And of course up next we have Inspector Marvin Campbell. Inspector Marvin Campbell is in studio and ready to have the conversations with us this morning. But before we get into those conversations, whether you are viewing on our Facebook live stream, on our YouTube channel on AMPLIA 102, or on floor 121 or 130, this is your opportunity to help us. Share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.
TNTech is pleased to advise that its Roxborough Service Center has reopened. Starting Monday, 10th March, customers can once more visit the Roxborough Administrative Building to pay TNTech bills, request new connections, and more. TNTech, powering the nation into the next generation.
When the game is on, you don't want to miss the best moments. With AMPLIA TV, you can enjoy our ultimate sports package and watch your favorite games on the go. Stay connected and informed with sports news, scores, and stats with AMPLIA's fastest internet speeds. Up to 1 gigabyte fiber internet, you can stream riveting football action, cricket, NBA games, and much more. With AMPLIA, it's game on. Visit amplia.co.tt or call 800-4663. AMPLIA. Do more, live more.
The Tobago Rhythm and Soul Festival. Feel the beat. Embrace the calm. On Easter Weekend 2025, Tobago is the place to be from April 17th to 20th. The Rhythm, the Soul of Tobago. On Thursday, April 17th, get ready for a worship experience at the Shore Park Complex with Melodies from Heaven. Melodies from Heaven. Then on Saturday, 19th April, immerse yourself in the sun, sea, and sand at the Buku Seafood and Jazz Festival, featuring legends of R&B. On Sunday, 20th April, we bring the curtains down at Parade Grounds, Dwight York Stadium for Fusion. Get your tickets on islandetickets.com now or visit TobagoFestivalsCommission.com for more info. Tobago Rhythm and Soul Festival 2025. Feel the beat. Embrace the calm.
It's a different type of thing down there. And we party till we drop down there. With a lot of pretty girls down there. Down in Tobago.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Tobago Updates Television, and thank you so much for staying with us. We begin conversations this morning by speaking with Inspector Marvin Campbell of the TTPS, and he's here to bring us our weekly crime updates and also to talk about a few crime prevention tips. Good morning and welcome.
Pleasant good morning, and good morning to all the viewers in Tobago and in Trinidad. I am Inspector Marvin Campbell. I am from the TTPS. I am attached to the Court and Process section. Now, as you know, there is the ongoing state of emergency. And to that end, the Tobago Police, we have been busily engaged in crime fighting. I can tell viewers and you this morning that last week, the members of the Tobago Task Force Region North, owing to surveillance and information from members of the public, they were able to make an arrest of an individual who had a number of marijuana trees in excess of the limit of 4. Woman Corporal Alfred of the Task Force North is presently spearheading that investigation, and we expect that individual to be brought to the court sometime this week. In other SOE related activities, officers of both Task Force North, East and West, they were engaged in a number of raids and searches throughout Tobago, and there were a number of arrests over the week, and we also expect those persons to be brought to court sometime this week. So in terms of the police being out there and being alert and, making arrests and so, we are doing pretty okay, ma'am. We are doing pretty okay. The Tobago space is being well represented by the TTPS in that regard.
In relation to arrest and detection of crime, what are some of the areas that you see more arrests or even reporting coming in from? Is it, could we say house break-ins? Could we say what type of serious crimes, possession of,
Top of the list, we are seeing a lot of narcotic offenses, marijuana, cocaine, and we are also seeing an uptick in house breaking. The CID in that regard, they have been doing some great work, and they recently made a big breakthrough in a number of break-ins we had, and they have a suspect in custody presently. He might appear in court sometime this week as well. So in that regard, also the CID, they are greatly assisting the task force also with information leading to arrest for narcotic offenses.
And in terms of, I know you said that most of the activities are related to the SOE, and seeing as we have been in the SOE for quite some time, and we are looking to, come to an end in the near future, will the exercises of the TTPS continue? Or how are you going to approach now the measure of crime in terms of detection and apprehension outside of what is allowed during an SOE?
Well, the SOE might come to an end shortly, but I can assure you that our tempo will not drop. So we will continue along the lines that we have been going. So you can expect even after the SOE and leading into the elections that there will be uptick in police operations because, elections have been called. So we intend to spearhead crime fighting in terms of narcotics because we don't want the criminals to believe that because an election is coming up that our attention will be elsewhere. We will still be focused. Yes.
And that was leading to my next line of questioning in terms of preparing for an election. I know they call it silly season, but as you rightfully said, the focus really is usually on the politics and the politicians and what they are doing. But other people are also living in the space and they use opportunities to do what they want to do. So in terms of police presence and in terms of exercises that will be carried out by the TTPS, what can we look forward to? Of course, without revealing too much of your strategies, what can the average citizen or the public can look out for in terms of TTPS support to ensure our continued safety?
You can expect an actual uptick in the number of roadblocks, raids, and searches throughout the Tobago space. Without divulging too much, I can ensure the public there might be some inconvenience to the law-abiding folks. But however, these raids and searches and roadblocks, they are not directed at the law-abiding folks. They are more directed at the criminal elements in our society who might want to use the opportunity of the election and the campaigning to carry out their nefarious activities. So,
right. And we're talking now about crime prevention tips, even as we head into the election season or even generally. And while it is unfortunate that a regular homeowner, business owner, or whomever, property owner has to put an extra layer of security, it's very unfortunate that we have to get these tips in terms of securing what belongs to us, what we worked for, what we, however, here we are. And so we get into that conversation. How do we apply, preventative measures to our belongings, our property to ensure that we are safe from crime?
Right. Now, what everyone has to realize in the Tobago space and by extension Trinidad and Tobago, that crime prevention is everybody's business. Don't sit and think that, well, crime prevention, that is with the police, and that don't affect me. That is the wolf that you don't want at your door. Now, to that end, there are some tips and some suggestions that you can take to prevent yourself from becoming a victim of crime, or at the least making yourself a harder target. Because I will tell you something, criminals don't really attack randomly. They normally study their target. They carry out reconnaissance. And they look to see who is a hard target or who is a soft target. The hard targets, they would avoid because the chances of them actually scoring a hit is less. With that in mind, let us look now at homeowners securing your property and so forth and so forth. There are many things you can do to make your home or your business a harder target for bandits and criminals. The first thing you need to look at is your security. Simple things like applying deadbolt locks to your doors, burglar proofing. All of these things will tend to add a layer of security to your home. Now, we know that some people don't have the means. However, things like security lights, simple lights on the outside to illuminate your property. That is a great deterrent because criminals don't want to be seen. Another thing you can do, if you can afford it, CCTV cameras. Put that around your home. It gives you an added sense of security because, like I indicated, criminals don't want to be seen. And the security cameras that they sell now, they are rather cheap. You even have them, you even have those that look like normal light bulbs, but they have the camera installed. You could install one of that. Another thing you could do not practice what the old people used to do, hiding your keys below the stone or the flower pot or the door ledge. Those are the first places bandits will look when they come to enter your home. They will pass a hand on the door ledge, raise up your flower pot.
Or your doormat.
Your doormat. Don't leave keys under your doormat and these things. Your cut keys, you give each family member a key, so everybody has a key. Also, in terms of your surroundings, your house, the set of bush you might have around your house, you can cut that. Create visibility. Bandits don't want to be seen. And if you have the wherewithal, you purchase a dog, or you have some friend could give you a potong, and you might laugh and say, "But you need a potong in a yard, they're useless." I will tell you something. All dogs are very territorial, especially in the yard. Any stranger comes into that yard, that dog is going to bark, and it is going to alert you and give you fair warning that, listen, there's an intruder on your compound. All these things you could do to make yourself a hard target. Finally, if you have to leave your home to go anywhere for a period of time, a week or wherever, leave on a security light in the house. And you could even do what I do. And these are practice I learned from my mother. If you're going out, turn on your radio, turn it up at a volume so people outside could hear. Now, the first thing that will enter somebody's mind when they're approaching your home and they're hearing that, somebody home. And that in and of itself is a deterrent. And finally, steel doors instead of wooden doors. Harder to kick in, because we know we have an increase in home invasion, people kicking in your door. A steel door is much, much harder to kick in. So all these things as a homeowner and a business also, as business, make you a harder target. Now, you might still become a victim, but it'll be harder for them. And bandits don't like to work hard. They like easy work.
The end there, bandits don't like to work hard. They like easy work. But this is hard work for the proprietor. and investments, expending funds that could otherwise be used for other things, and it's very, very unfortunate. But viewers, I want to remind you that it is our responsibility. We know the times that we are living in, and so you really have to make the investment into, ensuring that you secure your property, secure your home, because a bandit, and my interpretation is, if he decides he leaves home today and he say, today my target is a little 1,500 or whatever, he's going to try by all means to get that. So, you have to put that level of security to your home and ensure that your space is free from anything that looks attractive to somebody who didn't buy it and thinking that perhaps they want it. Inspector, in closing, is there anything else you'd like to share with us?
Very right. Some other crime prevention tips. This is for the folks that, the Generation Z, everybody have the expensive iPhone, and they're walking about town and they head down in the iPhone and oblivious to what's going on around them. Some bandit watching you. Mm-hmm. And he's saying, that is an easy target day. So they run, they grab your phone, they're gone. They run, they grab your handbag, they're gone. They bust off your chain, gone. All because you do have situational awareness. Mm-hmm. And when you lock them up and you talk to them, they just tell you exactly who they just target, They target women, 1, older women, 2, women who don't know what's taking place around them, 3. Is the common denominator and all of that? Women. Because women love to be on their cell phone when they're walking through town. And them fellas, they will tell you that. So you have to take measures that will make yourself an unattractive target or a hard target.
Very, very difficult conversation this morning, but viewers, you have to ensure that you put yourself in a position where you become a hard target. And even when you become a hard target, the possibility still exists. It doesn't eliminate you from being a target,
Correct.
But at least you're a hard target. So,
Correct.
Take heed to the instructions, the tips rather from the TTPS. And of course, try your best to ensure that your environment is not attractive to persons, onlookers on the outside wanting to come into your property and take what belongs to you. We've been speaking with Inspector Marvin Campbell of the TTPS as he brought us our TTPS crime updates and few crime prevention tips. We do hope that you can stay with us while we have the rest of the conversation this morning. But before we go for a break, we have a photo of the day. The photo of the day. Is it ready? Cue photo of the day. Can you figure out where this photo was taken? This photo was submitted by Kerry Walcott, who takes some beautiful photos of the island of Tobago. Can you figure it out? Can you figure it out? We will let you know what it is when we come back from the break. But in the meantime, of course, we're so happy that you're here with us, that you're having the conversations. We see your comments on our Facebook live stream. And of course, we really, truly do appreciate all of you. We have to go for a short break before we continue conversations in studio. And as we go, we invite you to help us share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.
Want to get better? Where to start? What kind of exercise to do? What to eat? How to get restful sleep? Need a doctor to search for root cause? Look no further. Come to Majuba Hill Lifestyle Center Foundation at our Wellness Center in Goodwood, or Food Hub in Darrow Springs, Scarborough, or Doctor's Office in Goodwood and Darrow Spring. Contact 49SWIFT 4979438.
So guys, there are some new developments in housing in Tobago. So it's goat racing time. This is 116, the show that keeps you in the know with all things Tobago House of Assembly. Each week, 116 delivers a fun and engaging overview of the latest developments, achievements, activities, and events of our dynamic assembly. So join me. Let's dive into the Tobago House of Assembly's Week in Review right here on 116.
Tobago Glass Supplies has been a leading name for over 37 years in the glass and aluminum market in Tobago. We provide an extensive range of high-quality, innovative aluminum and glass products for commercial and residential use. Competitive prices with superior and professional services by committed employees who are guided by rigid quality standards. Tobago Glass Supplies specializes in the manufacture and installation of glass and aluminum products that are essential to today's homeowners and the business environment. We are engaged in marketing, sales, and installation of a variety of products. These ranges from windows and doors to necessities such as mirrors for homes and vehicles, designed and manufactured in-house or imported. Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Tobago Updates Television, and thank you so much for staying with us. Akinlabi and I are on set this morning, and of course, as you are aware, viewers, we are in election time. Election is on the 28th of April, so we have just about 5 weeks thereabouts before you dip your finger in that ink. And I want to talk about a few things leading up to election, and this is for the electorate. Electorate means people like me, like you, persons who are going to the polls to vote, and some things you probably should know, and we could talk based on what we know. Of course, we will continue the research to ensure we bring the information to you. So here are some things that you probably need to know. You need to ensure that your name is on the updated list of electors. Right? And how do you know that? You go to the EBC, the Election and Boundaries Commission office, to ensure that your name is on that list. Right? Where the office is located, Akinlabi?
It's located uptown. You know, I can't really remember the name of that street.
Yeah,
it's in Caroline Building.
Yes, downstairs.
Yes, on the ground floor of the Caroline Building.
If you know where Youngco is, on that corner there, downstairs.
Yes.
Right? So you go in there, you ensure that your name is on the list of electors, ensure you have your ID is up to date, your information is correct.
Make sure you have the right polling station.
That's right. That's the next thing. Ensure you know where your polling station is, because you know, I think there's a few changes in terms of the polling station. Some people are used to voting somewhere. Let's say, for instance, let's use Bishop's High School, for instance, for people in the West. Bishop High School has a lot of polling stations there because it's a big station. I think they have about 3 or 4 stations within that compound.
Right.
So you need to make sure you know which one you're voting at. So ensure you're checked on when you go to the list of electors. They will tell you where, or even on your poll card, they will issue you your poll card. So ensure you have your poll card and you have the information that you go to the right polling station. What will happen if you don't have a poll card? A poll card can be issued to you on the day of election. They will ensure that you have the correct information and they will issue you with one and you would know which station you're going to vote. So these are just a few things you need to ensure you have and you know, so that when the day comes, you wouldn't have the hassle.
Yeah, and it's for people to really kind of mind your business, you know. If you really want to vote, mind your business. Make sure that you're registered. Go out and go to the EBC and make sure that your information is correct. Get all the right information so that when election day comes, it's not a surprise. You're not on the list of electors, and you feel upset. You know, sometimes persons feel upset. They didn't really take the due diligence, and then they realize that they can't vote, and they feel they're upset, and they start to come up with all sorts of conspiracy theories and all these kinds of things. And that could be avoided if you take the time beforehand to make sure that you are on the list of voters and that you have all your documents in place and ready to vote.
That's correct. And you know, that's a very salient point, because sometimes you hear a lot of people at polling stations making a lot of noise, a lot of polling day, election day.
Yeah.
You see the true character of a man coming out, you know, because especially when they are not allowed to vote because they don't have or they don't appear to be the person, or, you know, they don't have your, well, I suppose if you don't have your ID, you could take affirmation to ensure that you are the person. And that's the other thing. If you don't have your ID, which you should have, ensure you have a valid ID. But there are things that have been put in place for persons who have, I think, expired ID, or they don't have the ID or something. You could take an oath or an affirmation, and you have to sign it, declaring that you are the person you are trying to represent in terms of going to vote. Yes. Right? So you ensure that you know, be in the know, as Akinlabi said, do your due diligence, get the information you need to have ahead of time, so that on the 28th, you're not now scampering.
Yes.
While they are roving officers who go from station to station to solve issues that they might have. You have your presiding officer who can contact the office to kind of solve problems, but let's try not to make problems for them to solve, you know. Try to get the information that you want ahead of time and make sure all your ducks in a row. So you want your ID, your poll card, and when you get there, you will get the ballots, which would have the information in terms of the candidates with their symbols for you to, you know, cast your ballot and get. And one thing I want to talk to our viewers about, dip your finger in the ink now. Yeah, I know some people.
You said dip your finger in the ink. I was not going to say, make sure you put the X in the right place. Why are you putting the X on the line? Why are you spoiling the ballot?
Spoil ballot, you know, make sure there's a space allotted for that.
Yes.
Right, and there's ample space. Yeah. Because the stamp, they have a stamp and they also have a pen or a pencil. Yes. If you can't use the stamp, you can mark it within the space.
Exactly.
Right? Try not to, as Akinlabi said, try not to spoil the ballots. Try not to, because a spoiled ballot means that it doesn't count. So your vote will not count unless you deliberately, I don't know,
unless
I can't
it's some
see.
sort of action of protest or some kind of thing. But come on, man. If you want to protest, stay home.
Right? And I'm going back to put your finger in the ink.
Yes.
When the ballot box clerk tells you, you have to dip your finger before you cast your ballots. I know you did your pretty nails and you don't want the ink on your hand, but it's the only way to verify that you have voted and that you are the person, because somebody could come back bearing your name and say they didn't vote, and all kind of things can happen. So to prevent all of that, let us follow the procedure and policies that have been implemented by the EBC. You will be briefed when you get to the polling station. The presiding officer, the deputy presiding officer, the ballot box poll clerk, the regular poll clerk, they all tell you what the expectations are, what to do. They help you. Yes. So let us follow the guidelines and ensure that we have a smooth election coming on the 28th of April. So Akinlabi, we'll see how the thing will go.
Yes,
we'll see how
again exciting times. We have some things coming up here.
Yes, that definitely. I'm talking about some things coming up. Up next, we have in studio, Mr. Anselm Richards. He's a technical advisor and economist. He's up next and in studio and ready to have conversations with us this morning. So do stay tuned with us as we go through the conversation. You want to be a part of it, so ensure that you are on our Facebook live stream or on our YouTube channel, putting in your comments and being a part of this very, very important conversation. But in the meantime, we must go for a short break. And as we go, we invite you to help us. Share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.
TNTech is pleased to advise that its Roxborough Service Center has reopened. Starting Monday, 10th March, customers can once more visit the Roxborough Administrative Building to pay TNTech bills, request new connections, and more. TNTech, powering the nation into the next generation.
MI4 Security Services Company is the most advanced security service in Tobago. Ask about our cash and transit service. It's safe, risk-free, reliable, and timely. We provide safe banking delivery for all business types and sizes with highly trained staff, 24/7 monitoring, coordinated emergency response, and a well-maintained fleet of armored vehicles. Contact us at 660-7723 or visit our website at www.mi4securitytt.com to sign up today.
Coconut's Cafe, the buffet restaurant that specializes in all your tasty local dishes. For breakfast and for lunch. Breakfast includes coconut bake and sada roti, served with chokers, bull joil, and sausages in tomato sauce. Not forgetting beef and cheese pies, shepherd's pie, macaroni pie, and rice in various styles. Meat served in a variety of flavors, garden salads, and pasta salads. All this accompanied by fruit juices, coconut water, your choice of a great combination to appease your taste buds. So call us today to order, as we are here to accommodate your busy schedules or if you are having a cooking day off.
Mouth-watering fries, salads, combos, and specials galore. Feeling for something to eat? Come and see. Our rotisserie is seasoned to the T. Kicking chicken, masala, and jerk roast. Crispy fries made from scratch. Who do you know can't beat that? Or salads freshly cut and packed. When you taste it, you'll be wanting to come back. So come check us out on number 2 Robinson Street, Uptown Scarborough, Tobago. We open on Saturday nights from 7:30 to 11:30 p.m. Monday to Thursday, we're open from 10 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. and on Friday, 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Contact us at 772-7443 and all social media handles at The Rotisserie Factory.
a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Welcome back, viewers, to the Tobago Updates Morning Show, and we have in studio with us today Technical Advisor to the Tobago House of Assembly, Mr. Anselm Richards. Good morning, Mr. Richards.
Good morning, Updates. Good morning, world. Thank you for having me this morning.
And it's good for you to be back with us today. And today we want to be talking about Tobago. We know that you are an economist, and we want to be talking about Tobago and Tobago's economic future and the plans that the Tobago House of Assembly has for Tobago's economic future. So let's get straight into the conversation, and I know that you'll be advising the THA. So just tell us some of the strategies and economic policies that the Tobago House of Assembly wants to implement to take Tobago forward.
Great, thanks. So you'll recall that the Chief Secretary would have placed before us a grand, ambitious vision for Tobago, making the island, the great Tobago, the greatest island on the planet. Child by child, family by family, village by village. So that's the philosophical frame in which we are working to do the development. So what we would have done, we would have looked at the data collected when the party was campaigning, and they had a document called the People's Mandate. And then we would have revised all the development plans that Tobago would have experienced from since 1963 after Flora, 63 right up to date. And what we found from that is that the same issues that were attending to Tobago in the 1960s, about 80 of them is still present in our development portfolio. So what it means that all the plans we would have done over the years, only about 10% of the recommendation was action. So that it means that we have an implementation deficit in the Tobago space for a number of reasons. One, institutional capacity, technical capacity, and most critically, the economic resource. Because any development plan, you will know that home without resources, without finances, will be difficult for any individual or any country or any institution. So what we would have done, having found that out, there are different iterations in how we do our development plan. So this administration has chosen the pathway, the development pathway, a strategic development pathway for Tobago. And what we would have done, we'd build out, and it's a simple model. It's a logical development model, step by step, that connects all the action items that you want to do for the next 40 years. So we will do the plan in 20-year cycle. So we have developed a pathway, and we are in the process of putting it online soon, a development pathway for Tobago 2025-2045. Which is a 20-year pathway, so we have 5 years planning cycles. So it goes beyond the life of the THA. That pathway will house all the development objectives and the programs and projects that we are doing, implementing, funding to achieve those targets. And we have targets, timeline, measurements, and evaluation. So we have a comprehensive development matrix, if you want to call it that, that will be shared with the public to move Tobago to this greatest little island on the planet.
So, Mr. Richards, what are some of the in terms of specificity, what are some of the sectors that the Tobago House of Assembly is looking towards developing? Some of the projects, some of the initiatives that Tobagonians can look forward to.
Right. So critical to the development of the island, most critical issue is our right to self-determination. Because unless we fix this constitutional issue, this 1976 constitutional constitution, colonized constitution that colonized Tobago constitutionally. And let me tell you the effect of that. You have a constitutional arrangement now where central government can come into the Tobago space in the presence of the people elected island government, the THA, do a 1-point-something million project without the intimate involvement of the island government. Open the facility without getting the island government involved. Embarrass the head of our island government at that function. Bring boatloads and payloads of sycophants from Port of Spain to laugh and jeer our head of government on this island. That is the embarrassing nature of this constitutional arrangement that we need to get out of it. Because let me tell you something, unless Tobago completes the internal self-government project and get the hell out of this 1996 colonial constitutional arrangement, this island will find we'll find ourselves very difficult to advance the development of this island and the development of Tobago.
Mr. Richards, that conversation about internal self-governance on the island of Tobago has been a conversation for many years.
Since 1976 in its full glory.
Before I was born.
1976.
Right? And we're talking about having this conversation, and every time we have this conversation, anybody who speaks about it is very passionate. At least it comes across as if they are passionate about the topic and ensuring that we get what we want. But every time the topic comes up, there's always a pull and a tug. So what is the thing that will assure us that, hey, we're going to make some headway, we're going to make some inroads, and we're going to get it done? Because government after government, administration after administration will come in, talk and say, this is what we're doing, this is what we want. We all agree that this is what we want.
Yeah.
There's no Tobagonian who will say, nah, we don't want that. Everybody wants it. But there's always a struggle. So how do we break through? How do we break the glass ceiling to ensure that that particular project that you're talking about, because they said that's the primary one
it's
of
the
all
foundational
the
project.
foundational projects.
Foundational
So
project.
without that, the other projects they wouldn't be optimized.
They would not be optimized.
So
they would be stymied.
how do you break through and ensure that we get this particular thing so that all the other projects that we're working on will be optimized?
Right. So the struggle for this internal self-government has been the struggle in the parliament, and it has to do with the politics in Port of Spain. And let me tell you this. Port of Spain is not interested and has not been interested and has never been interested in Tobago's right to self-determination. If you go to the history. If you go in 1976, when the motion was debated in the House in 1977 with Robinson and Murray as our area representative, and that is the foundational struggle, you will see that the PNM in Port of Spain, Eric Williams and them, they laugh and jeered Robinson and Murray. They say Robinson want to dissolve the unitary state. Because you see, the internal self-government will dilute the control the central government has over Tobago. And people in power don't necessarily love to give up power. But is that the right model for the people? Are people only free when they are governed by their own laws? We are not making laws for the good governance and peaceful development of Tobago. Somebody else in Port of Spain are making law and telling us how we should live. And that is not it. Our right to self-determination is a human right. That
I understand, Mr. Richard, just now, I understand the struggle. I understand where we are. That has already been established. Right. My question is, how do we get it?
Well, this is the greatest opportunity we have with the politics that is in the space. The Tobago People's Party has an opportunity to change the dynamics in the parliament if it wins the 2 Tobago seats. Because if you take away the 2 Tobago seats, the configuration in Trinidad is a one, based on the last election, is a 1-seat majority. So Tobago holds the power. We can now negotiate strongly with either of the parties, and I don't think we should negotiate with the PNM because the PNM is our rival in Tobago. But we can negotiate clearly.
Mr. Richards,
let me finish this point.
Okay, go ahead.
We can negotiate clearly with which party should form the central government on the condition that we move with dispatch to complete the internal self-government project. It has to be a fundamental strategy coming out of this election. And Tobagonians must understand and must be made to understand that we have a golden opportunity, probably the last opportunity, to really change and shift the dynamics that have been debarring us from obtaining our internal self-government over the last, 44 years. Remember, if you go back to the history of the THA, the only time we have had some kind of platonic shift in the legislative construct of the THA is when the PNM is out of office. In 1980, we got the Act, right? Act 37 of 1980. In 1996, when the Act was changed to the current Act 40 of 1996, it was when we had 1717-2. So if you follow the logic and the history of the issue, it means therefore we have to do a different configuration of the parliament in Trinidad to really achieve this. It's going to be a challenge. It has to be strategic. You have to build the coalition in Trinidad and move the project forward.
Mr. Richards, this idea of using the 2 Tobago seats to negotiate for the benefit of Tobago has been, people have spoken about that for decades. And we've attempted that on numerous occasions, and it has failed on numerous occasions.
No. It did not fail in 1996.
What about this time around is going to make it so beneficial to Tobagonians?
No. You see, you said that. You said that it has failed. It has failed on numerous occasions. Let me tell you something. In 2010, when the TOP won the 2 seats, and Delman Baker and Vanilla Allen were members of parliament, and they joined the PP government. The PP government moved with dispatch. As a matter of fact, the completion of the internal self-government project was a feature in the manifesto, clearly laid out. The problem we had was the current the ex-prime minister, who stood up, and we only wanted one vote, one vote in the parliament for the bill to go through. And if you recall your history, Dr. Keith Rowley, who was the opposition leader at the time, spoke in the parliament and walked out. He did not even sit down after the debate to work out the legislative logistic, to empower the people of Tobago. So I'm saying our struggle from the historical antecedent has always been the PNM. And the PNM by design is algorithm. And let me use computer language. The PNM by design is programmed to prevent, to disrupt, to trample, to dismantle anything that is progressive for the people of Tobago. So you could think otherwise.
Mr. Richard, so let me put this forward to you, right? So you stated that 41 people in parliament, and you said that historically the parliament does not want to devolve power to Tobago.
No, the PNM. When the PNM is in control, the PNM.
So
not the parliament, the PNM.
One politician once said to a group of us that he does not think that he would see increased autonomy for Tobago in his lifetime, because you have to convince 41 people in parliament to give up power that they don't want to give up. We have seen where the UNC or the People's Partnership would have brought legislation for Tobago to advance that was rejected by the parliament. We've seen where the PNM have brought legislation for Tobago to advance that was rejected by the parliament. So it was rejected whether UNC rejected and PNM rejected in the past. We've seen that, right? Let us assume that beyond the parliament, we don't get the economic the change to the THA Act that we need to advance the island forward in the way that the TPP wants to advance the island forward. Barring that we do not get the legislation, what plans and ideas and initiatives can the THA execute, or the THA, this administration is planning to execute to move Tobago forward? Because we can't just say, we can't wait for Parliament to finally decide to give Tobago the autonomy it needs. We could be waiting forever. We could be waiting for 50 years.
But I didn't tell you we were waiting on the autonomy. Right, I told you, and I want to correct you. I told you that the most important of the project is the internal self-government issue that we need to complete. I'm not saying that you all said you're waiting. Remember, I started this conversation by saying that we have put in place a development pathway from 2025 to 2045. Yes. In one project, in another story there. Right, I know that. No, one project. No, let me finish, because you made a statement and I want to correct you. That is giving the impression to the listening public that I am advocating that we're sitting down and waiting. But your statement is conveying that. So I want to correct that in the public conception. Because I want to go back to my opening statement by telling you that we have looked at all the development plans that were done for Tobago from the 1960s. And what we found is that over 90% of the ideas and the policy prescription are still relevant today. I told you that the issue is really a deficit in implementation, deficit, institutional challenges, human capacity challenges, and critically funding and the legislative framework. And for us, we have identified the internal self-government project as the most critical and important of all the projects, because that will give us the legislative muscle to lift up the transformation we want to implement in Tobago.
We understand, we understand and accept that.
Travel with me, brothers and sisters. Travel with me.
What I want to get into now are a couple of the other projects that are of importance as well for execution and implementation here in Tobago, for the sake of our economy, the boost that we're looking forward to, for people to just have a comfortable type of, living.
So we have 21 development priority areas, right? And let me pull them up and share them with you. 21 development priority areas in the development plan is a very huge thing, and it's going to be online for the world to see. So we are not in the business of making joke. We have a team of young technical people working on this plan, and we are going to ensure that we put in framework policies, programs, and projects that will ensure the development of Tobago. Let me just pull these things up for you. One is that we want to have targeted economic growth, and we set some targets for the first year, 2% economic growth, by making critical investment in critical sector infrastructure, human capital development, and so forth. We want to have a world-class educational system. It means, therefore, we have to revise how we do education in Tobago. And the World Bank has just came out with a report, I don't know if you saw it, about a month ago, roughly, about the state of education in the Caribbean and the need for us to transform our education system. We want to have development in our productive sector, tourism, agriculture, infrastructure, fisheries, manufacturing. So we have a comprehensive economic plan. I'm trying to, to pull this document.
And that's what I'm saying. I know you've mentioned the sectors, but in terms of specific projects, specific initiatives and programs that you want to implement even if it's just one sector, so that we can identify that specific project.
Let me tell you let me go in this year, what they are doing for this year. Remember, the Chief Secretary, after the budget, announced that we are going to be doing 44 projects. So I could share those with you. That will be more relevant and on point. So let me pull that up and share that with you. What are the 44 projects that the Assembly is working on in this year? Those are the approved projects for implementation. Let me just pull that up so I could share that with you and the listening public. Let me just find out. Just give me a minute.
I feel, Mr. Richards, that list should have been right at your fingertips.
No, it's right here. Is the technology
on the tip of your tongue, in fact, rather.
Yes. All right. So we have.
Just give us about 5. We'll work with 5. I know it's 44, but we could work with 5 just for the sake of time, because I wish we had more time to continue this conversation to get more of the information from you. And it's quite possible we might bring you back to further the conversation.
We'll have to bring you back.
But in the interest of time and, of course, our programming, just give us 5, the first 5 that come to your mind, if you can pull up the list, and we'll take it from there.
In the agricultural sector, we are moving forward with the Mega Farm project. We are also moving forward with a new veterinary lab to deal with because of the livestock issues in that. In education, we are paying specific attention to preschool education. There's the proposed construction of a new early childhood education center in the Black Rock, Plymouth area. We are also looking to provide a special campus for our challenge school population. Our strategy is to have integration into the normal school population. But it's a systematic approach, because when you put them into the normal population, they develop the life skills so that they can function on their own. You don't want to have them housed in a campus by themselves. So we have a integration strategy, but there's a need now for a specialized institution to deal with them. Right? In health, we are modernizing our health care system by moving fully to use digital solutions and also AI in some of our diagnostic projects, diagnostic evaluation, AI to help read images and so forth. Right, so that is in the health sector. I spoke to education. In agriculture, I spoke to agriculture. In the public service, we are moving to digitize or to digitize public administration. Critical for us is the digitization of our finances. It is difficult to manage $3 billion around there in a manual system. It makes all kind of accounting challenges, payment challenges. So we are in the process of, you heard about the FMIS project. That is a critical. We have already started our e-tender project. We have a contract with TSTT, e-tender, so you can stay home and tender for a project. And the procurement legislation now provides for those kind of public transparency and the kind of penalties that is associated with that. We are also moving to establish the Tobago Development Fund. The Tobago Development Fund replaces the concept of the Tobago Development Bank. This is to create a new ecosystem of financing for business development and even the development funding of projects in the public sector in Tobago, because we recognize that one of the challenges to move the economy is the availability of investment capital. So we are establishing this institution. It is advanced. It is registered. We are operationalizing it now. We have international donors standing by with large bags of money to invest in Tobago. We have an investment portfolio where we are building a prospectus on investment in Tobago. We have just acquired the Culloden Estate, where there's approval there for the construction of a hotel and villas. There is over 100 and
Mr.
something
Richards,
acres.
I'm sure you could go on and on because I mean,
so
you said
we have a plan.
right.
Okay.
We have a comprehensive strategic development pathway populated with projects and programs, and we are changing the way we do business in Tobago. So what we want to do, we are not doing projects isolated. We are doing, for instance, we'll have a program of investment in our, let us say, our social infrastructure. So we can, at the end of the day, we can come to you and tell you, we have invested $5, $10 million, $20 million in social infrastructure, namely community centers, youth empowerment centers, playing field. So you have a more organized way of accounting and tracking the progress and development of the island. Because if we are going to the greatest island on the planet, there has to be a pathway to do that. And there has to be systems and measures in place of how we measure our progress along this journey. That is what the strategic development pathway provides for Tobago. And it will be online. We are now working with some companies. The website is partially developed. We are now refining it. So before the end of June, I think it will be live. So the public here and abroad, anywhere in the world you can sign in and see what our development plans, what our programs, what our projects and initiatives to really change the lives and experiences of the people of Tobago. But critical before we go, don't forget, if a people do not have control over their destiny, we are living in a state of constitutional occupation. You see what is happening in Gaza?
Mr. Richards, thank you so much.
I leave you all with that this morning.
Thank you so much.
Reflect on that, my friends.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
That is the life you want to leave as an inheritance for your children and your great-grandchildren.
Thank you. Thank you.
It can be. It may not be as
Mr. Richards, in the sake of time, we really have to wrap up this morning. We appreciate your enthusiasm this morning. We appreciate, your passion and all of that. But thank you so much for coming on the program this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been speaking with Mr. Anselm Richards, technical advisor and economist in the Tobago House of Assembly, as we spoke about, how are we going to improve the economic state of Tobago and Tobagonians? How do I benefit? How do you benefit? How do all of us benefit and generations to come? Before we go, of course, the photo of the day. The photo of the day, were you able to guess the photo of the day submitted today by Mr. Kerry Walcott? The photo of the day, this is taken at Big Hole in Goodwood, and we do hope that you were able to guess it. Ladies and gentlemen, finally we have come to the end of the morning show here on Tobago Updates Television, but it's not where we end our programming. We head on over to GMT, so you must stay with us as the conversations continue, and as you go, we invite you to help us share the live, share the live, share the live.
I think with this facility having been down for about 10 years or somewhere thereabout, I think it's an excellent initiative and that it was recommissioned. I was talking to one of the other educators here, and he said that it was a very good program for the students, especially at the CSEC level. So I think it's an excellent initiative, and I'm very proud of the present administration for working so feverishly and assiduously to get it back up and running.
Yes, I am very excited about the reopen of the Kendall Aquatic Facility. I hope to come and learn to swim properly.
I'm very excited about the reopening, and I hope to come and take swimming lessons.
The problem we had was that the leak, the facility had a leak and caused the major shutdown. So now that it is back, all the programs you see happening in the west will be in the east, and even more, because while it was down, we were planning how we're going to do a lot of things. So what you see down in the west will be up in the east.
challenging you all for us to work with agencies such as the YMCA in having an even more robust and inclusive program so that we can ensure by a defined date all of Tobago's students and young people can actually swim. You should not live on an island and not be able to swim. And with what we are seeing in terms of climate changes, what we are seeing in terms of the battle with the sea on our coasts, all of our young people from as early as possible should learn to swim.
This pool belongs to you. It is a space for your families to bond, for your communities to gather, and for individuals to focus on their health and wellness. Whether it's a child learning to swim for the very first time, an athlete training for the next level of competition, or a senior enjoying low-impact exercise, this facility caters for everyone.
Was a production of the Department of Information, Office of the Chief Secretary, Tobago House of Assembly.
You're viewing Tobago Updates Television, your exclusive gateway to Tobago, broadcasting the beauty of this island paradise to the world.
Welcome to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates, your source for current affairs in Tobago, Trinidad, and the region, with the perfect conversations to complement your morning routine. I am Candace Jackson, and let's get started with the news in 90 seconds for Monday, 24th March 2024. The Tobago People's Party, the TPP, has officially announced its candidates for the 2025 general election. During the TPP special convention last evening at the Rovenals Resort, THA Secretary of Community Development, Youth Development and Sport, Assemblyman Joel Sampson, was named the candidate for Tobago West. His selection comes weeks after the TPP executive body instructed the screening committee to reconsider additional prospects for Tobago West. Meanwhile, David Thomas is the TPP candidate for Tobago East. The Chief Secretary and political leader of the TPP, Fali Augustine, declared at the party's special convention that the time for political action has come. He emphasized the importance of listening to the people and outlined the TPP's commitment to Tobago's self-determination, improved public services, and better resources. Augustine criticized the central government for neglecting the island's needs, particularly in national security and the air bridge, economic development, and other pressing issues. He stressed that the party aims to secure Tobago's rights. The TPP called for unity and active participation in the upcoming general election. And finally, Tobago's business community is hopeful that crime will remain under control once the state of emergency, the SOE, ends. Chairman of the Tobago Division of the TNT Chamber of Industry and Commerce, Curtis Williams, expressed concern that progress in national security may not last, but is optimistic about the strong coordination among the police, army, and other security forces. Crime rates have dropped significantly, with murders down by 66.67%. Williams praised law enforcement for their teamwork and urged continued collaboration between the THA and the central government for progress. And that was the news in 90 seconds. All right, viewers, so I mean, we're getting into the heat of things with politics, especially we had last evening, as you already know by now, the TPP launching their political campaign, presenting their candidates to the public. We finally got to see the unveiling of the Tobago West candidate, of course, and that's none other than Assabiman Joel Sampson. So it's a lot to get into, and my guest this morning is going to help us unpack some of those things a little bit more. So, good morning and welcome, first of all, to former Minority Leader, Mr. Ashwood Jack.
Yeah, good morning, Candice. Good morning to Tobago and all the persons viewing on the World Wide Web.
All right, great. So, getting straight into it, Mr. Jack, we saw the unveiling of Mr. Joel Sampson. I just want to get your thoughts on the selection of him for Tobago West.
Well, I think the selection of a candidate for Tobago West, the reason that this discussion is taking place is because for the last month or so, they have been kind of shrouded in secrecy. And I think to see Mr. Sampson been announced as a candidate, I expected it to generate some discussion. But when you look at the popularity of Joel, how much he have grown in the last 3 years, because of course he came into the Assembly as an assistant secretary and of course the deputy presiding officer. We have seen him elevated to the position of secretary for Community Development, Youth and Sport. And of course now we have seen that elevation go even further to try to get him into the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago. I think it's a testimony to his growth. And I always say there are two people that I have a lot of admiration for in terms of their growth. And Joel is one of them. In fact, there are a couple, but Joel and Wasp have shown a certain amount of growth that I admire tremendously. But so I think that Joel, in a short election campaign, he has his work cut out for him. He's running against someone who has spent 15 years in the Parliament, 5 years as a senator and 10 years as a representative. But I have no fear for him at all. I think this is politics, and he's gonna rise to the occasion.
Now, the TPP has been under some criticism for taking this long, over a month, to be able to unveil their Tobago West candidate. Do you think that now that we have Joel Sampson on the scene unveiled, do you think that the time that it took has any impact on him being able to hit the ground and being able to drum up enough support to be able to come up against the PNM candidates?
But under criticism by who?
By the general public.
You see, the thing about this is this. People want a candidate. But at the same time, as a political organization, you have to do your due diligence. You have to do what is necessary. Because if you just give them a candidate, then there might be another outcry. So I'm not unduly worried about stuff like those. They come out early. Why you bring out your candidates so early? They come out around this time, and you shall bring them out last week. They came out last week, and you don't know, it was right after Carnival. So there's always something, right? But I think what is important is the readiness of the organization.
And is the organization ready?
Well, that's a question that has to be answered by persons who are better informed than I am. I am quite sure, though, that an organization that just came out of an election 3 years ago, an organization that have shown that in the last 2 years, after the upheaval and the separation, and the organization started a year ago, to be the only one of the organizations, except the long-standing organization that is not a Tobago organization, really, that can put together an executive that have been doing a number of things. That shows a certain degree of readiness. I'm quite sure that there will always be more work to be done. But that work, I think they are surrounded by enough persons with some experience to help them put it together.
Tell me a little bit about TPP's chances, because we're seeing here that the PDP is getting ready to unveil their candidates in just about an hour's time. I mean, we know Mr. Duke will be contesting Tobago East, and we're going to hear who is the West candidate. obviously we have some other little parties on the scene. We have the IDA and so on. We have Patriotic Front. Tell me, with all of those in the mix, how does the TPP stand?
I think it's not just the TPP. How does any of them stand? Because they're going to be a splitting of allegiances and maybe of votes. One of the things that I have looked at is how the closeness of some of these organizations to the PLM. And I think that the greatest beneficiary of this could be the PLM, because if the votes are split too far down, then there's another story altogether. But I'm seeing some titanic mistakes being made even by the PLM in this run up to this election. And you wonder, okay, it is called the silly season for a reason.
What are some of those mistakes that you can...
First thing first, for the political leader of the party, the now former prime minister, but still political leader, to categorize Tobagonians as 60,000 crab in a barrel, I find was so disrespectful to the people of Tobago. And I don't know if people look at some of the how crab is described. People only think about it pulling down, but it is more than that. It is brainless, because crab don't have brains. It is spineless, because they carry a hard back, they don't have any spines. So, in other words, what you're saying is that the political leader and then prime minister of the country stood up in Tobago and tell it all earlier, that's it, are brainless, spineless people. Mm-hmm. And then you will come a couple of days after and say, well, brainless, spineless people, give my party a vote. And then, if you vote for them, it shows that he's right. You're really brainless and spineless. You know, and so that was one. And the other one was the way in which, in an official function, there's a way that you conduct the business of state. And the way he spoke down at two members of the assembly, I found was in poor taste. But then if you look at the history, you know that it's nothing new, right? You, Farley, you, Watson, in an official function, that is for a friendly banter. And then people say, it's joke. That is not a place for that. This is an official function. That, coupled with the fact that wars and airports are the responsibility of the Tobago House of Assembly. Mm-hmm. And you're in Tobago, you're doing an opening of an airport in Tobago. And regardless of how there would have been some disagreements as to how this thing was done, you have to respect the institution called the Tobago House of Assembly. You mightn't like the individuals, because you don't always like the individuals. You might have your banters, you might even have personal differences. But the office becomes very important, and you have to respect the office. And to come to Tobago and open a major facility in Tobago, and not one person from the institution that runs Tobago is even slated to give a remark, that speaks volumes of the level of disrespect. But let's go back a bit. If you go back a bit, you will recognize that in the Scarborough Library some years ago, when he was Prime Minister and Keith was, Kelvin, was
Chief Secretary.
The Chief Secretary. And you look at the Chief Secretary and say, sit down and shut up. It tells you that it has nothing to do with this Chief Secretary. It's a general disrespect for Chief Secretaries and the office of Chief Secretary in Tobago. But I can go even further back. If you look, I think it was the DRC debates in 1998, I think it was, in the Parliament, when, of course, everybody knows who Troy was a fierce advocate for things Tobago. And Mr. Rowley referred to the office of Chief Secretary as a man with a little office in Tobago, trying to tell the cabinet what to do. So there's a history. There's a history. And what it says to me is that even the frail attempt to give Tobago very little additional responsibilities, as it were, and even taken back of some of those, was just political grandstanding in the form of we talking about the autonomy bill. Because when you look at the autonomy bill, it was woefully lacking. And so I am saying that if what you want to do is to improve the lot of Tobagonians, your actions speak louder than your words. There should have been discussion with the Chief Secretary in Tobago as it relates to the opening of the airport. There should have been an agreement as to the speakers. Of course, the just basic human decency was said how you can speak and not speak to people in the public. And so those things for me speaks volumes, right? Not what you say you would do. And so then what do you come and tell Tobagonians? And the thing about that is that I look at some, because I did not go to the opening. I was invited. I did not go. I chose not to go. There are some places that being in my garden is more important. I said to a couple of the assembly, it is going to be a very disrespectful event. And I said, and I don't want to be party to that. And I want to back up a bit. I am happy to say that I think the construction of an extended terminal and stuff on the airport is important for Tobago's development. There is no two ways about that. As chairman of SPEL, I did everything in my power to facilitate all the material that the airport wanted to ensure that the airport was finished within time and within budget, because that should be the responsibility of every citizen of this country to ensure we save money and we ensure that we facilitate the development of this island. That being said, look at what is happening. We open, should I call it open? They speak at a facility that would not be ready for a couple of months. So that's just games. 1, 2. In the last couple of years, you knew when the contract for the airport would have come to an end, so you know the airport would be finished at a certain time. What have been the additional capital injection in advertising Tobago to ensure that even the room stocks we have now are taken? Because you're telling me that I think it said that the estimated capacity is about 3 million per year.
Basically 1,000 passengers to handle 1,000 passengers every hour.
Every hour, right? But in order to do that, something have to bring them. I don't know if we expect to be beamed up and beamed down.
And what was interesting also is that at the opening ceremony, we heard from Finance Minister at the time, Ms. Imbert, that there was he was talking about a lot of flights coming from Hong Kong, from Argentina. He mentioned a lot of places, but only mentioned that, it only appeared that they were going towards Piarco International Airport.
Yeah, because it tells you how uninterested the government is in terms of the development of Tobago's tourism capacity, because what it does, it also brings additional money. And if it brings additional money, then you become less dependent. You see, if you're going to spend this kind of money, if we know that Tobago is an easy place to fall in love with, and even if you're discussing with all these different areas of additional flights, because you've seen it happening all over the Caribbean, and wouldn't there be some discussion and some partnering with the Tobago House of Assembly, who under the 5th schedule, their responsibility is tourism? None of these discussions should really take place without a partnering of the central government and the Tobago House of Assembly. It doesn't matter if you belong to different political organizations. You are both elected to take care of the business of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And so when you hear that, and when you see the fact that there have been less money put into the tourism division, and in terms of marketing and stuff like that, you know that we're not really serious. And this goes for any administration that says that you really want to, you're building a $1.4 billion airport. It's $1,400 million airport. But yet, there is nothing put in place in order to increase the traffic on the airport and stuff like that. And that, for me, is what is important. And the question is, okay, why build this airport if you don't intend to do that? If you look at what is happening right now, it is last week, it was announced that there are going to be direct flights from Nigeria to Jamaica. Right? Then I think it was last week or so, the week before, you saw flights going, Caribbean Airline at that, flights going from Fort Lauderdale into Montego Bay. And I'm saying, but we can't even get additional flights. In fact, they cut back on the amount of flights coming to Tobago.
And I know this is something that you always talk about because
I was responsible for those additional flights coming to Tobago. And it was easy to deal with the government. It took me one meeting, a discussion with the Prime Minister at 5 o'clock in the morning after suffering on the airport at night. Called me and said, PM, are you aware that Trinidad secedes from Tobago every night at 9 o'clock? And she said, what do you mean? I said, because the last thing, the boat leaves at 4 o'clock, and at 9 o'clock, the last flight leaves. And regardless of what happened, you're stuck in Tobago. She said, no, I never see it like that. And so we had a discussion. She called Dan Devant, who was Minister of Transport. We set up a meeting for the same week. Of course, the THA refused to come to the meeting because I was going to be at the meeting. But nevertheless, the meeting was held. And in less than 3 weeks, flights started to come to Tobago until 2 o'clock in the morning. Not now and then, every day.
All right, well, we're going to have to put a pause on it just there because we got to go for a break and hear a few messages from some of our sponsors.
It's a brand new morning, rise up to a brand new dawn.
MI4 Security Services Company is the most advanced security service in Tobago. Ask about our cash and transit service. It's safe, risk-free, reliable, and timely. We provide safe banking delivery for all business types and sizes with highly trained staff, 24/7 monitoring, coordinated emergency response, and a well-maintained fleet of armored vehicles. Contact us at 660-7723 or visit our website at www.mi4securitytt.com to sign up today.
The Tobago Rhythm and Soul Festival. Feel the beat. Embrace the calm. On Easter Weekend 2025, Tobago is the place to be from April 17th to 20th. The Rhythm, the Soul of Tobago. On Thursday, April 17th, get ready for a worship experience at the Shore Park Complex with Melodies from Heaven. Melodies from Heaven. Then on Saturday, 19th April, immerse yourself in the sun, sea, and sand at the Buku Seafood and Jazz Festival, featuring legends of R&B. On Sunday, 20th April, we bring the curtains down at Parade Grounds, Dwight York Stadium for Fusion. Get your tickets on islandetickets.com now or visit TobagoFestivalsCommission.com for more info. Tobago Rhythm and Soul Festival 2025. Feel the beat. Embrace the calm.
Oh, welcome back to Good Morning Tobago. And viewers, we are chatting with former minority leader, I should say, Mr. Ashwa Jack. So getting into it now, I want to talk a little bit. So we had the unveiling of Assemblyman Joel Sampson to contest the Tobago West seat. Now, in his quest to contest that seat, would that affect anything as for his standing as Assemblyman right now?
No, not right now. Not right now.
So could you clarify what?
The THA is probably one of the luckiest organizations when it comes to that representation, in that he can run as Assemblyman, but once he wins, before he takes the oath of office as a member of Parliament, he has to tender his resignation as a member of the Tobago House of Assembly. It's one of the very few organizations, because if you're a member of Parliament, you can't run for the THA unless you resign. But in this case. But that leads me to another thing. Because the Tobago House of Assembly and the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago, those things apply to them. For me, there need to be some changes as to how people become pensionable for both institutions. I think you should be able to carry across the service, port it from one to the next.
So were those things at all addressed with the recent SRC?
They were not. They were not. And that, even in terms of the amendment of the Act, those things were not looked at. Because I'm saying, if you're a member of Parliament, and let's say you serve a term, and then you come and you become a member of the Tobago House of Assembly, you should be able to bring across the eligibility for pension from one to the next, so because you're serving the country. And, of course, the vice versa. If you're a member of the Tobago House of Assembly, you have to serve for 6 years. And I find it's a little excessive as it is now, because, once you're out of politics, in a country our size, it's hell to find a job. People at a certain age should have been pensionable. Because the Prime Minister is pensionable after 10 minutes. People say it's after 24 hours. It's ready as far as to take the office of Prime Minister. That being said, I also think that the office of the Chief Secretary should be treated the same way. If the office of the Prime Minister is treated like that, the office of the Chief Secretary should be treated the same way. That once you become substantive Chief Secretary, if you're going to become the President, the office of the President is the same thing, and the office of the Prime Minister, but I think that it should be extended to the office of the Chief Secretary. And because as it is now, the Chief Secretary have to serve for 6 years. In order to become pensionable. And even if you don't want to do the 6 years, I think, to do the 1 day, I think it should be markedly reduced to show some equity and some respect.
Now, is this one of the reasons why it's important to have somebody like Mr. Sampson in Parliament, someone with that sort of knowledge to kind of sort of advocate for these things? Because, from listening to the Chief Secretary yesterday and speaking about what he wants his candidates to do, is to not just advocate for autonomy, which of course is something that we're always talking about. It's always at the forefront of every person that's going up for elections, but also the legislative changes, or at least making provisions within legislation so that Tobago comes on board as well.
I think
and Tobago is treated fairly.
That in its purest sense is what autonomy is all about. To do the legislative change to give Tobago the necessary power, legislative power to do things that are in the best interest of the people of Tobago. But you see, that comes with an appreciation, two things. One, an appreciation for what Tobago needs. And two, with a free hand to be able to do it without being coyed by everyone, by anyone. And that is why the issue of the history of Tobago and Tobago's progress have always been with an organization that Genesis is in Tobago. The DAC in the 76, 77, the NAR with Robinson and Palm in Act number 40 in 1996, the situation that played out itself in 2013, where all the different things were brought, of course. The government was one short of a majority and didn't get that. So what you have seen happening is that every time that there's real progress to be made, it means it was done with a clearing of the deck from being managed by Trinidad. And that is why I am an advocate for you can make an arrangement, but you must not be managed. Because the people in Trinidad, they have their own problems. They don't have any time to bother with you. And that's why autonomy is important.
No, and I noticed something last night as well. There was a sort of switch in the way that Mr. Augustine was speaking towards autonomy. And sort of what you mentioned is that it's not just about having that self-governance bill or whatever the case may be, but also making sure the powers that the THA currently has, that is really fully realized in Tobago.
Well, it comes to the same thing, because once you have that special majority, because what you're seeing in Tobago is government ministers saying, yeah, you might have the power, but actually the constitution says that we have overarching responsibility. And you see them flexing it, saying that, okay, for example, Tobago study pact is in a situation where we can borrow money, buy new equipment, and have enough material to export and make a lot of foreign exchange. But you've been told the government in Trinidad have responsibility for our export license. So if the government, you can do everything. You can spend the $60 or $70 million that we have to spend to upgrade and to put in the downstreams and stuff. If the government turn around and say, I'm not giving you that export license, then how do you repay the loan? 1, 2, your blasting license, your mining license, those things have to come out of Port of Spain. And I'm saying, let us do the reverse. If Tobago was the one who had to do that, do you think our brothers and sisters in Trinidad would have sat down and allow themselves and allow the island of Trinidad to be stymied because somebody in Tobago wants to flex their muscles and to keep Tobago in this place? Tobago can make a greater contribution to the economy of Tobago if Tobago is given the power to do so.
And how can MPs from Tobago make those things happen?
Because MPs from Tobago in the last couple of years have had a special place in terms of numbers. Without the 2 MPs in Tobago, this present government would have had a majority of 1. It means, therefore, that you couldn't have a sick member of parliament. They couldn't travel on government business. There are so many things, except that you just keep pushing back and sitting in the house if you have important bills. And so the MPs in Tobago, whoever they are, must be an independent thinker in such a way that they must be able to say, listen, this is what we want for Tobago, or we will withdraw our support. If you're a member of an organization in charge, you can't do that. Because there's the Crossing of the Floor Act. And once you do that, they can then ask that your seat be declared vacant. As it is now, the government have a majority of only the Tobago MPs. Because unfortunately, there was the untimely passing of
Lisa Morris Julian, MP.
Lisa. And so Tobago is at a place where, boom, only the Tobago MPs makes a difference. And so we have seen that in the past where they did not even have that closeness, where Mr. Robinson and Dr. Murray would have used their voice to the benefit of Tobago. In fact, we have gotten the Act number 37 and now Act number 40 of 96 because there were Tobago MPs who were independent of thought.
Now, do you think that the voters in Tobago, do we understand exactly what we are voting for in a general election? Because there's one school of thought that we're voting for Prime Minister and so on, but then here it is that we're saying that you're saying that Tobago needs MPs that are independent of either the opposition or the central government and be able to advocate for Tobago's issues. And what formula, do we think we understand what formula works best? No, I don't think we fully
understand it, because I hear people sometimes saying, I don't really fight up with the general election. I go vote for teacher. And if you look at the voter turnout in the general election, it's usually a lot lower.
Yes.
Than the Tobago House of Assembly, because I don't think enough emphasis has been placed on where we are and what is needed to take us over to that place of autonomy. And so people think, well, they have no say in what happened in Trinidad. But of course, with this close, there are things that your representative, if they act in the way representatives should be acting, should be able to hold the feet of whichever government is in power in Trinidad to the fire and say, listen, this is what we bring and this is what we want. Mm-hmm. It's not just a salary, it's not just to belong to a clan or something like that, but it's to say, as a representative, and the word representative means something. You're really supposed to represent the views of the people that elected you, and so because of the Crossing of the Floor Act, there's another story. If you vote against something, they can then get rid of you, and that's why you need persons who are independent of thought to be able to do things like that.
Now,
even if you form an arrangement with someone and you said, "Okay, I'm not supporting you in this," there is nothing they can do to you.
Okay.
Because you're not part of the organization.
Now, we just have about 3 more minutes for this, but I just want to go back a little bit into time, to that time where we had Mr. Robinson and Dr. Murray as the independent Tobago voices in Parliament. Now, of course, we know that they started the quest for autonomy. They put autonomy on the table of the Parliament. But other than autonomy, what else were they able to, work for or get for Tobago being as independent voices?
No, and that's the thing, it started with that. Mm-hmm. It started with that because, remember, up to 1996, well, quite 97, 98, Tobago's share of the budget was between 1.7, 1.8 and 2.2. And so, even in writing the Tobago House of Assembly Act number 40 of 1996, that is why the issue of the Dispute Resolution Commission was put in there. And even when you see how Dispute Resolution Commission arrived at the 4.03, it used population size, and that is why they gave the spread of 4.03 to 6.9. Now that Tobago has about 5% of the population, it should stand to reason that if the population size was used in the first place, every time the population increases, the share should have increased based on the spread, the 4.03 to 6.9. We are not seeing that happening. So all those things have to be taken into consideration. And that didn't really call for you going back to the DRC. That should have been done based on the fact that they said the 4.03 was as a result of the population. So once there's an increase in the population, there should have been an increase in the allocation. And that would have allowed Tobago to do a lot more things in terms of its development, in terms of employment, in terms of attracting additional visitors, because you'd have had a greater allocation and stuff like that, So those things, I think, have to be taken into consideration, and this election must be about those things, and who are best able to bring those things to Tobago.
All right, well, Mr. Jack, I want to thank you so much for being on with us and for sharing your perspective. It was a pleasure speaking with you this morning. But viewers, well, we have to go for a break and hear a little bit from our sponsors, so don't go anywhere.
And the vibes is never wrong. We are beauty, we are power. We are people in the sun. We are beaches, we are rivers. We are melanin.
Want to get better? Where to start? What kind of exercise to do? What to eat? How to get restful sleep? Need a doctor to search for root cause? Look no further. Come to Majuba Hill Lifestyle Center Foundation at our Wellness Center in Goodwood. or Food Hub in Darrow Springs, Scarborough, or Doctor's Office in Goodwood and Darrow Spring. Contact 49 Swift 4979 438.
TNTech is pleased to advise that its Roxborough Service Center has reopened. Starting Monday, 10th March, customers can once more visit the Roxborough Administrative Building to pay TNTech bills, request new connections, and more. TNTech, powering the nation into the next generation.
Tobago Glass Supplies has been a leading name for over 37 years in the glass and aluminum market in Tobago. We provide an extensive range of high-quality, innovative aluminum and glass products for commercial and residential use. Competitive prices with superior and professional services by committed employees who are guided by rigid quality standards. Tobago Glass Supplies specializes in the manufacture and installation of glass and aluminum products that are essential to today's homeowners and the business environment. We are engaged in marketing, sales, and installation of a variety of products. These ranges from windows and doors to necessities such as mirrors for homes and vehicles, designed and manufactured in-house or imported.
Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates. Viewers, we are now chatting with Chairman of TADCO, Mr. Ricardo Alfred. So good morning and welcome to you, Mr. Alfred.
Yes, good morning. Good morning, Tobago.
All right, so speaking to us this morning, he will be getting into some mastering butchery skills that is going to be offered by TADCO, and it starts from today and goes till 26th.
Yes, 3 days.
Yes, so tell us about it.
Right, so the intention really is that over the years, persons are involved in their livestock production, meaning that they just sell the goat at live weight to persons in Trinidad and persons who may have 1 or 2 events, birthdays, weddings, that type of thing. So what this training would offer is that they would have a value-added product now, meaning that they can have different specialty cuts that the restaurants, groceries, these guys who are there on the course right now, I had a meeting with them this morning where I'm trying to encourage them to form different groups, form these networks. They would have access to the facility once they get their certificate. I made it very clear to them about the safety part of it, that we are going to set some rules when they're using these saws. After the completion of their thing, there'll be no cell phones, of course. There'll be no chatting. They'll be just strictly focused. And it was a very young group, very strong group, actually. We have some members from the Tiller group there, which is very good. The Tobago Integrated Livestock Association. So they are there, and the aim is for them to have more value-added products coming out of their raw produce, which is the goat live. And so it's a 3-day program. As a very skilled lecturer, it's going to break them down into different things. So you're going to have lamb, goat, and chicken into different specialty cuts where they can now choose to package it and sell it to the local population, because that is what TADCO is supposed to be about.
And why is this necessary? Like, why did TADCO decide to have this training?
You see, we have to close the loop, meaning that it's not just, so we know the persons can mine animals, we know persons can do different types of crops. the aim of it is to create that closed loop straight from the farm straight into your household, you know. So the aim is to create that type of product and that type of capacity building it right here in Tobago. So it's to close that loop, because when we buy stuff, we have to now package it and pay someone to cut it up. So why not invest in the persons right here on the island in terms of them bringing out their, building some capacity as well, and also letting them offer more value for their product. So, I mean, I have a couple goats. I have about maybe 30 something sheep and about maybe the same in goats. Huh? And as I understand the need for moving from $18 a pound to now $40 a pound, you know, so it's therefore going to build some capacity building there. So I'm quite pleased, and we're going to have more of this training because it was oversubscribed. So we're going to have some more persons trained and therefore building Tobago.
Now, after this training, how will we ensure that these people who have gotten these skills now are connected with the players in the industry so that they can continue to operate and they can themselves build?
Right. So again, it's all about closing the loop. So now you have the abattoir, which will therefore do the slaughtering. From the abattoir, they can now come across to our facility with the certificates, of course. They will go through some training again and some formalization before using the saws, and then they can now make their product. We now have a schedule in which times of different persons to come in and use these type of equipments, and therefore building their skill and growing their trade, you know, and growing their business as well. So it's a loop. It's closing the loop. That's what it's about, really.
And then at the end of the day, what does Tadco aim to produce in terms of the meat industry in Tobago? How do you see that forming? And yes, so tell us all about that.
So Tadco has the largest cold storage facility on the island. Again, the loop will now be closed. So now they're going to have the slaughtering from the abattoir, the cutting of the meat at Tadco, and then the storing of the meat and stuff in the cold storage, which can now go out to the supermarkets and groceries, and therefore keeping that all these gaps for contamination very small, and therefore building the product. So it's all about that loop, you know. And I'm quite pleased where we are at Tadco, actually. You know, in the past we would have had some challenges, you know, with the equipment and stuff like that, but I'm quite pleased where we are. I must commend the staff. If you look at Tadco now, you know, we have some nice bright colors, and that was all done by the staff. Huh? Therefore saving the company some money and allowing the staff to, you know, we are doing a lot of capacity building with the staff as well, getting them to work with each other, doing a lot of programs with, you know, team building exercise, which is therefore really, really important, and building some morale back on the company. So I'm quite pleased where we are right now.
And in terms of certification and making sure we have a specific standard in the way that we deal with meat in particular, but of course agriculture, how far are we along the line in getting to that point? Will Tadco also be certifying farmers and agro-processors and giving them that stamp of approval saying that, yes, you've met these industry standards, and then it's guaranteed almost to the public that they are getting the highest quality when they go out there to purchase?
Right. So again, if you look at the overall standard, let's look at the capital of paradise. When the fish is caught, the fish is gutted, stuffed with ice, and goes into the cold storage space. Again, this is all necessary to maintain all the HACCP standards. So the fish that we sell is of a very high standard. We are going to be doing some training on the 7th of April, which would include some safety at sea practices, and also it would include identifying what fish to reject. Because you know some fish do come with diseases. Huh? So I want the fishermen and them to understand what to look for when they see some of these fish. Because you know fish will have things like, they are cancer in some of these fishes, but you have to know what to look for, different spots what to look for. So we are going to have that type of training. Again, it's all about closing the gap as relates to standard and quality. Again, with this butcher training, from the certificate, they'll be trained and now certified to do these specialty cuts, which I believe will therefore build Tobago. You know, Tobago has a very strong market in the livestock sector, and it's to give the guys and them that skill. I would really like to reduce the amount of sheep vans and stuff coming up to Tobago, but that is the reality right now. So it's to how do we close that gap? And it's by training the guys on them how to do these specialty cuts and reducing the amount of vans coming across for these raw animals.
Now, as you mentioned, the program for the butchery has been oversubscribed, but there will be more.
Yes.
How can people get connected?
So I would say keep staying tuned to the TADCO page. We have, I encourage the staff to be very noticeable right now on the Facebook and social media programs. So it's going to be there. We're going to have more of these programs coming along, and we're going to have more persons trained. At the end of the day, you have these HACCP standards which require some level of certification. So we're going to be having various training in different aspects of agriculture, and have persons have that certification. It's really, really important that they go away knowing that they have it trained. And I want to encourage them again, because at the packing house, we have these spaces, we have some equipments there, which we are going to work at a schedule again for persons to come in and use these equipment, because we have to move away from that kitchen type manner and that backyard type behavior to a more clean environment that is controlled. You can control the amount of organisms and substance coming in and people. So it's all in a loop to close that gap and to have persons certified and close that gap as relates to standard, so that what persons eat out of TADCO or eat right here in Tobago, it must be of a certain high standard.
All right, great. Well, I want to thank you so much, Mr. Alfred, for coming on and for sharing with us some of those developments, especially where butchery is concerned. And for viewers, if you are interested in being part of the butchery program, of course, get connected with TADCO, and you can be part of the future training sessions that are happening, because, of course, this session started today and will end on Wednesday, but there is more coming.
Yes.
So get connected so that you can improve your butchery skills. So thank you again. And viewers, well, that's all that we have for you this morning on GMT. It was a pleasure being with you. I am Candice Jackson, and we will see you again tomorrow.
It's a brand new morning, rise up to a brand new dawning as the passion starts.